Let's be honest about it. Money doesn't make you happy. It never could. I know a guy lives in a house without a sink, without hot water, without a ceiling. Got nothing, but he's happy. You know why? Stupid.
Well, that was award-winning comedian and actor Jackie Mason right there. Mason sadly passed away over the weekend at the age of 93. The legendary rabbi turned stand-up comedian leaves behind decades of funny jabs and observations. And joining us now to talk more about Mason's contributions to the world is professor at Touro College and author of the book Saving Free Speech, Thane Rosenbaum. Thane, thank you so much for joining us. We brought you on because you wrote an article about Mason in the Jewish Journal, and in it you said that he actually faced cancel culture decades ago. Tell us about that.
Well, he is, that style of comedy, Heather, is very much now out of fashion. Mm-hmm. But his entire, material was based on highlighting cultural, ethnic, and racial differences. And we're in an earlier era, certain jokes that he made about African Americans and Protestants and Asians, that's the sort of thing you can't do today. As you said, observational humor. So he early on, although again, the style of comedy was very different, in which that he looked honestly at stereotypes and found humor and truth in them. Today, those would all be considered war crimes. And his career was pretty much in the tank last time when he had an off-color comment about Barack Obama. And so, yes, he had an early experience with wokeism.
And what did he mean to you personally, Thane?
Well, he was very honest and refreshing. As you know, I wrote a book on free speech. Yeah. And so I think that as a country, we've lost our sense of humor. We've become bitter and humorless. Every insult now is a war crime. There is no free speech. Mm-hmm. And for me, there was something very liberating about an openly sort of very Jewish-sounding comedian poking fun at Jews and Gentiles and African Americans in a harmless way. And what we live now in an era, Heather, is with, his material, which are jokes, are treated like burning a cross on an African American's lawn. Mm-hmm. It's like a Klan rally. And that's not a good comment about our country, that, comedians are afraid to take the stage, that people like him couldn't go to a university campus anymore. It would be ridiculous. They would be canceled immediately or shouted down. Yeah. That's America, where white people call each other racists. Yeah. That's America today. And so, yes, he was of a liberating spirit and a more generous spirit at a different America.
Thane, I want to bring back in our panel to join the discussion with you. Ford, Melanie, and Steve, any of you have some comments for Thane? Ford, I'll start with you.
Thane, I think a big question is, and you were talking about this earlier in the interview, is how much did what Jackie Mason faced really alert us to the cancel culture that we now see everywhere? I mean, you cannot be a comic. You can't go to college campuses. You have to worry about everyone you talk to for fear that anyone can take it the wrong way. So do we look at Jackie Mason as someone who really was the first to be on the forefront of that?
Mm-hmm. I think he was. I think that's a really good observation. We didn't know it at the time. Remember, today, the politics of identity means that the only thing that matters about you is your identity, not whether you're a good person, not whether you have good character. And if you are a person of color, you can't be mocked, you can't be criticized. And, Jackie Mason was taking shots at everyone, and now you can't take a shot at anybody unless you're a white male.
Yeah. And Melanie, I know that you know as well that being a black Republican, a black female Republican, you also face many of the similar issues and things that happened.
People regularly try to cancel me as if I don't exist, but I enjoy the comedy of people like Jackie Mason, and I think that he set up and paved the way for the Richard Pryors and the Dave Chappelles of the world, who are really edgy types of comics. And I think that he's going to be sorely missed, as that type of comedy is sorely missed as well.
Yeah, I mean, Steve, it's a sad state of affairs when folks, can't laugh at themselves. You have to be politically correct when it comes to comedy.
Yeah, no, it is a sad state of affairs. Jackie Mason, great stand-up, but great in Caddyshack Part 2.
Yeah.
But one thing I like about Jackie Mason, he was a man's man. He didn't care if you were offended. And this is what we're losing in America today. You're only canceled because you allow yourself to be canceled. If you draw a line in the sand and say, because I'm a Hispanic conservative, if you draw a line in the sand and say enough is enough, enough is enough. It's just real simple. But for some reason, we don't want to go down that road. Jackie Mason was a great example of saying, you know what? It's comedy. Get over it.
Yeah, I don't even think you can say a man's man anymore. Thane, finally, just wrap it up for us.
Yeah, look, as I said, I really think that this is a very different time in our culture, and he represented a much more liberating time where we were able to look at each other as friends, honestly, and joke with each other. And today, a comedian is not being held to the standards of a comedian. A comedian is now is treated like some government official, and that every word that he or she ever said, any joke he or she ever said, they're on the hook, and the hook could always take them off the stage.
Yeah, but Ford, at least the comedians are now starting to speak out against it. I
hope that's true.
Well, they are speaking out against it, but I think what's shocking here is when you look at how sort of Jackie Mason got marginalized. You're talking about a Tony and an Emmy winner, and I think this goes to Steve's point: is that you got to stop fearing the mob. You've got to stand up now because it's a slippery slope to really destroying our culture overall. And if we can't make fun of each other and at ourselves, then we're really in trouble as a country.
Yeah, for sure. We got to lighten up a little bit. Ford and Melanie and Steve and Thane, thank you all for joining us today. We appreciate it.